What's up, y'all? Neandre Broussard of Black Menswear here, and this is Dapper Conversations New Orleans. For today's episode, we've got two dope guests joining us. First, we've got Ryan Clark, formerly of the NFL. You see him all on ESPN. You've seen his podcast everywhere. Secondly, we've got Woodrow Randall, reality TV star and New Orleans native. Both of them coming in here today to talk with us about changing the game. Don't miss a moment, because they're going to drop them gems. Go and get your notepad ready and get yourself on the next level. Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited about today. I got my guy RC here. I got my guy Woody here. And the point of today's conversation is all about changing the game. I got two game changers with me. One from television, podcast aspects, one from breaking down and breaking into really being a public figure and also looking at really tapping into this, what do they call it, the reality TV space, right? Making a name for you, making a game for you. So before I get into that, I gotta ask y'all, being from New Orleans, start with you, RC, what makes this place special?
I think it's different, you know. It's two different things, right? There are people from Louisiana and there are people from New Orleans.
That's true.
Right? You meet somebody and they're from New Orleans and they'll say Louisiana and they say no, I'm from the NO. And I just think it has its own culture. It has its own history. Yeah. You know, this is the place that no matter how you look at it, the people from here gravitate and hold on to what we are as a whole, probably sometimes to a fault. You know, like there's so many people from New Orleans that because this place is so amazing to them, because we love the culture so much, because we're so used to being here, they don't see anything outside of here. You know, and it becomes all encompassing. It becomes something that almost kind of boxes in your mentality of understanding the rest of the world. And I think that's why when you see different people leave from here and get to other places and the successes that they have, they never forget being from New Orleans. They never lose that pride, because I believe that, you know, it's a place not only steep in history, but steep in adversity for people like us. And when you do come out of it, when you do find a way, you want to share that toughness with everybody else, but ain't everybody built like us.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a beautiful place.
And it's a thing too, you know, you can't run from it when you talk the way you talk, because you can tell where you from. Absolutely. Yeah. What about you, Woody? What makes New Orleans special?
I would say New Orleans is special just based on, like, not to piggyback off of Ryan, but just the culture itself. I think, like, the experience that you'll get every day, the people that you'll interact with on a day-to-day basis, I think the life experience that you'll also receive is a very different lifestyle. It's definitely a different culture itself. Like, just being able to realize that it's almost an island inside of the state, inside of the United States of America too at the same time. So I think just having that, like, one facet alone is like, bro, that's very, very different. Yeah. And I just think, like, having that, like, mindset and that, like, that thought pattern is just like, bro, you about to come to a place where it's a completely different experience at all aspects. So I think that's just, like, one thing to, like, applaud about the city.
I love the culture, man. I love just the flavor that's here, from the cooking to the music, just to the atmosphere. And I gotta give a shout out to the city of New Orleans. So for sure, gotta get that kudos. Now, thinking about this culture, right? Thinking about culture in general. One thing about us as a people, oftentimes other people are writing what our culture is supposed to look like and what it's supposed to be, right? So they put their own portrayal out of our culture and who we are as a people. How important is it for us, you know, thinking about changing the game? Right, and I'll start with you, Woody. How important is it for us to create our own narrative, write our own story that makes our own outcomes?
I think it's important to, one, always think about, like, one, how are you portrayed, and then what story are you telling? I think, like, essentially, like, everybody they're gonna have their own walks in life. And I think it's just a matter of, like, how do you connect those dots? How do you, like, collaborate and network from those spaces? And then just, like, what are you actually trying to get to as an end result? I think once you have that mindset of, like, okay, this is where I'm going to start. This is my process, this is my middle, this is my growing phase, and now here, this is the person I absolutely want to be. I think once you have that in perspective, I think it changes a lot, like, from a narrative space. Yeah. Especially in order to, one, tell somebody else that story so that they could somewhat learn from it, so that they could grow from it, so that they can have a different experience for themselves. So I just think, like, understanding all those different facets, I think it's going to be real.
That's a pretty, you know, when we look at it, that's a pretty thought-provoking way of living your life, right? You gotta plan out, you gotta map things out. even as it comes back to the aspect of not letting, and I think getting a little deeper in this question, is not really letting the noise get to you, really defining your outcomes and really getting to where you want to be based off of who you are and where you see yourself going. You know, same question for you, RC, like how important is it for us to control that narrative because we don't want to control our outcomes?
Well, I think we control our outcomes. You know, you mentioned kind of the narratives that were created. We never were in a space where we got to create narratives, right? We didn't make laws, right? We didn't make decisions. We don't write history books. And so when you don't do those things, then the narrative of you is not actually from you. And so now we've gotten into a world to where our narratives can be from us. But I also think that we have to pay attention to the narratives that have been created. So many times we hear things that are negative and we don't want to be aware of them, or we don't want to accept them. And it's not about accepting them so you don't work to change them. It's about accepting them so you understand them. Right? And so if I wake up every morning and I don't understand the perception of me is one thing, how do I ever debunk that? Right? How do I ever show people that that's false if I don't even know it's something that's out there? Yeah. If I don't understand a perceived weakness, how do I turn it into a strength? And I think we got to stop living in a world to where we lie about how people see us, right? And because you can be honest about how people see you, it don't mean you got to see yourself that way. You understand? Yeah. But I know when I walk into a certain place what they think of me. So this is how I have to present to make sure not that I'm just different from that, but that when I leave, they can't say I'm who they thought I was when I walked in the door. Right. And it's not that I'm allowing them to control me. It's that I'm understanding that the next person that walks through the door that looks like me may have a better chance of making his own narrative or setting his own tone in that room because they saw me walk through it. And so we don't get to, no matter what people say, bro, like we don't get to live for us. It's not a thing. We don't get to do that. Like other ethnicities get to do that because this has been their country the whole time. Or white people can do that because this has been their country since the inception. It's not ours. Yeah. Right? And so me, when we become successful, the reason that it's important for us to present well is because we are the first generations of success.
Now to that though, like how do people overcome walking on eggshells? Because when you think about that, you always like, man, I got it now. Over time, your experiences help you to think differently, right? And so I've kind of been to the point where now it's like I'm always looking at every opportunity as me opening a door for somebody else. Because to your point, we're not really being there for us. We're being there for those that may come from, after us. But how do people get over walking on eggshells?
I think just one thing alone, you have to realize that you're gonna step on toes. I think like that's the big thing about it. Like, and also understanding like some toes are actually meant to be stepped on so that you could learn from them. I think like if you walk through the world and walk through life experiencing like feelings have ever been hurt, your feelings have never been hurt, then that's like honestly like fake as hell. Just excuse me for saying that way, but that's just the flat truth. You gonna literally crunch some people's feelings. Yeah. So being able to learn from those experiences, being able to also understand like how those feelings were crunched up, how those eggs were cracked or whatever it may be, you just gotta grow with it. And I think if you don't really and truly like process that some people gonna like this and some people are not gonna like this, then it is what it is.
Yeah. It's good. No, that's good. I think the other thing though is because as a culture, we want to continue to tell all of us that we can always be everything we are all the time. And that's not true. And it's good. Like, you want brothers and sisters to feel like everybody has to accept me or I'm going to be accepted like this all the time. And that's not true. Our decisions, right? Our decisions are based on our positions. Yeah. Right? There are things that I can do now at 42 that I couldn't do at 30. Right? And I just couldn't. And it don't mean that I'm fake, right? It meant that life is about survival. It meant that she had to eat, right? My 3 babies had to eat, right? A family I'm taking care of had to be taken care of. So if I'm making a decision that's only about me all the time, then that's not true, right? And it might be, you know what? I can't step on his toes, because his walk or where he's going and what he's going to do is going to some way elevate me. And it's not being fake. You can tell the truth, right? You can be yourself, but you got to be yourself within the spaces that you're in. Yeah. And then now, like now I get on TV, I say what the hell I want. Right, but I'm in a space where I can say what the hell I want. Right, I'm in a space where that's accepted. And and there were times you understood the consequences. 2016, Colin Kaepernick kneels. I wear a Colin Kaepernick jersey on TV. Like, I understand that. I had that conversation with my wife. Like, I don't know what happens after I do this, but I'm okay with whatever happens. Yeah. And there are going to be those moments. And then there's other times, the boss tell you, well, in this situation, we have to do this. If you can look at that and say, you know what, in saying that, or in doing that, or in not allowing me to answer that question, or them not ask that question, am I compromising Ryan in any way? And if I'm not gonna compromise me in it, sometimes you say, okay, we'll get along, because now next week, in that opportunity that's more important to me, one of those times where I can't be budged, they know I budged last week and I showed them love, so now you gotta take what I'm gonna do now. And so it's all about position and situational, man, and I think we try to make everything black and white, but it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, now you bring up a great point. You kind of allude to this notion that, Black Menswear is about changing the narrative, right? We look at our platform as a way to change the narrative, not the external narrative, but really the internal, right? How we view ourselves, how we view our brothers, and how we can see our brothers in a level of elevation versus competition, right? And so we always look at taking that, any chances that we get, we want to amplify our brother and what he's doing, because we want to show the world that we out here doing great things and amazing things. So I want to ask you this question, Woody, in regards to using your platform. What are you doing to change the narrative, right? How are you, again, opening this door for others to come behind you?
I think the one thing that honestly jumps out is just being able to show that you don't have to be promiscuous in every avenue. I think being able to one date, know what you like, know what you dislike, know all those different things, and now being on this platform with reality TV and being this, I guess you say, this number one husband, like people would say. I think it comes with weight, but at the same time, if you don't also understand what are you trying to do with that, then it can change really, really quickly. But I think being able to say this is the guy I'm gonna be, this is the guy I want to be every day, and also show that every day, and then also be consistent on those things. I think that's the one thing that you have to show, especially in these spots, because essentially when you get there, they're gonna think, they're gonna throw a bunch of curveballs at you. Right. You're gonna a bunch of them, literally everywhere, every which way you think a curveball is coming, it's coming. Yeah. So if you're not also prepared for those, and also being able to stand your ground and be that person every day, it's gonna change. So I think what I'm doing for to change the narrative, I think is just really and truly showing that there's really good black dudes here. Yeah. We really are consistent. It's just a matter of being able to say this is what I want, this is what I don't want, and also being able to articulate this is what I need also. And if, for being honest, I think that's a hard thing for a lot of people to be able to say I just don't like this thing. So me being in a space where I can say I dislike this, I like this, and also show I love my wife. Yeah. I think that's also a great thing. And I think especially to the younger generation, I'm 32. I think to the younger generation, they really social media driven. They love TV, they love all of that. So I think just being able to show all of that from my side of view, I think it's also showing them a different view of life itself. Yeah. I
would never want to be on reality TV. Bro, that has to be so difficult. How do you deal with that constant attention and also knowing that your real life will be shown to the world?
I think initially I was scared as hell. Just because being taped 12 hours a day is very different. They're gonna get everything from your farts to to the way you smack, to the way you brush your teeth, all of those different things. So if you are really and truly not comfortable with essentially a mirror, it's gonna be hard for you. But I think just that mindset alone, I think, is what helped. Just because, like you said, it is everything on TV, everything, and then also you gotta also be prepared for everybody's opinion also. Yeah. And I think I've had a solid foundation of being able to say this is who I am. And I think bringing that to also into a reality TV world where everything is somewhat copied and pasted and is cutting together, I think it also being, it just shows a little different. So I don't know how to really end that, but you know, I think just being honest, I think just being able to be consistent. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Honestly, it's really hard though.
I mean, you've had a life in the limelight for what, 20 years, bro?
Exactly.
From
his space, okay. I get how it is. It's honestly from like it's very different.
Yeah.
And the only reason is different is because they have their own expectation of and people idealize what they think you are or who they think you are also just based on seeing you. But at the same time, when like if they don't really know that, then they don't know that until you actually say, "This is who I am." Right. And I'm gonna stand on that. Right. But I think that's the one major thing. Like, if you're thinking from like a sports world to like being in this kind of like, man, it's I didn't think it was gonna be like this.
Yeah, too much.
I didn't think it was gonna be like that. But hey, I'm in it now.
Right. Now, what about you, bro? When you think about, because now it's beautiful when I look on television, the number of people that I see that look like me. It's beautiful, especially even going black men and black women. Like there's this uplift of being able to see myself, which again, when we come back to our kids and our kids are looking at television, oh, that's something I can do too, right? I see more. It used to be 3 black men on TV, period. You know, any sports, they go to 3 people. Now it's at a point where we have a good variety and a good view, diversity of thoughts, diversity of where people come from. From your perspective of how you're able to change the narrative in that and really kind of reflect on our community, what do you think you're doing to change it?
I think that, you know, the multiplicity of the representation is important, right? Because it means we don't all fit this one box. Right. You know, it means it takes all kinds in order to make an entire culture or to make a family. And, you know, we all, and it's crazy because it's like this in anything else, like we're all cool. You know what I mean? Whether it's, you know, Shannon Sharp or it's Marcus Spears, Dominique Foxworth, Bomani, like we all talk or text at some point. Whether we saw one of us do something on TV that we liked, or we felt like somebody tried to check us and we mad. You know what I mean? Like you have those conversations because you need that sort of community. You know, like sometimes they got to talk me off the ledge and be like, RC, it really wasn't that bad. Like, nah, I really feel like I should slap him. Like, you know what I mean? Like you know, like you go through those things, but you need people, like at times, like when I'm hot, I need Marcus to be like, RC, chill. Right. You know, when he told me he about to make a call, nah, man, it's not that important. And I think that's what's cool about it is that we all have different personalities. And so the world can see that this one little box you've been trying to put us in is way too small, right? Because we're so different, right? We're so diverse. We're all so talented in many different ways. You just never wanted to see it. I think the other piece of it is, you know, like in starting the podcast and doing different things is that if you play, you know, I'm just gonna take football and use it as a small example. If you play football, that's all you can do. Right, because this guy went to school to study media and he worked his way up through the newspapers and through journalism. And so now he can talk about all of these sports. You're just going to talk about football. And you're never going to host a show. You're never going to do these things. And you're never going to drive interviews because you played football your whole life while all of these people were figuring out how to do this job. Yeah. And so the thing that I'm working towards doing is showing them that I can do whatever the hell I want. Yeah. Right? That you mean to tell me I can't write that and read that prompter? I can do that, right? You mean to tell me I can't lead an interview and make sure that the structure of the interview is exactly what the producers want? But sometimes they're not gonna give you that opportunity, so I'm making it myself. And being able to do podcasts, what it's allowed us to do is have the conversations we want, right? Because what I'm gonna talk about, if it's Get Up and Aaron Rodgers has a tweet and he's in the jungle with some jungle cats and his actress girlfriend, we're gonna talk about what that means for 2 hours, right? That's not fulfilling. To me, you know, what I might want to talk about that day is what Michael Beasley is going through, right? What Antonio Brown is going through. But if that's not news that day, I don't get that opportunity. The other piece of it for me is giving them the voice too, whether I agree with them or not, right? Because it's so many times when we try to talk, we are cut off, we are redirected, or we are dismissed, right? And so if we create our own forums, we say, nah, man, here's the question, but you can really talk about whatever the hell you want to. Right, and we will pick off of that because we need people that want to see us win, right? And I think that's what like I've been trying to do is to show that, you know, you can do your job well, you can do it with integrity, but you also have to understand that people are always watching and always trying to wait for you to slip up, and you can't allow it to happen.
Ready for you to slip.
Yep.
You bring up great points as you talk about it's really fulfilling, right? What makes it fulfilling? And that fulfilling part about it and using your platforms, and that's one thing that I do like about social media. Yeah, people get caught up in the what they want to get caught up in, but then when we think about utilizing your voice and your platform to really open eyes, change minds, give other people space. That's one of the things that I love about what we do at Black Menswear. To your point, it's always about giving somebody else space to be amplified. Bro, you out here killing it. I want to share your story with everybody so they can understand, because you don't know how your testimony is going to help somebody else, right? And just being able to do that, it's so fulfilling, right? How do you overcome those obstacles, though, that come when you got a producer that's like, nah, that ain't what we want to say, or you got a producer that's like, well, the audience wants you to be this way. How do you stick to who you are and not waver in that?
Yeah, see, like I have no idea how you do it on reality TV. I would just quit.
You tell them that you don't want to do it.
Yeah, I would just be like, hey, bro, like,
I'm not doing it.
I'm quit.
Yeah.
I think TV is a different space. What happened for me was people were around me enough to know who I am.
Yeah.
You know, it got to a point, you know, with especially a lot of the social injustice stuff, you know, I'd be doing shows and Mike Greenberg would tell the producers, if we're not going to let Ryan be Ryan, then don't ask him the question, right? And he knew that I wasn't going to do it in any other way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people understand is like when you're consistent, right? Like you said earlier, when you're consistent and you're authentic, I think people understand how to deal with you. I say it a ton of times, man. Like I actually don't mind people being a-holes. I just want you to be that 100% of the time. Yeah. Right? What happens is in one day you're great to me and the next day you trash. Now every day I walk into work, I don't know how the hell to be. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like you walk by me one time, walk by me the rest of your life. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if I got to figure out what we doing, if it's like the dang handshake hugs situation where I don't know which one we doing, right. I hate that. Right. And I think that's what it is about life. When I walk into any building every day, everybody knows what they're going to get from me. Whether you like it or not is up to you. You get to make that decision. And the great thing about relationships is we pick, right? Like we don't get to pick like our parents. You know what I'm saying? But I get to pick my friends. I get to pick the coworkers I talk to. I get to pick the woman I'm married to. And so if they are doing things that I don't like, it's not my job to change them. It's my job to say, okay, this relationship may not be for me. And so I think that like that's what I do, man. I show up every day the same way. I don't waver on the things that I think. And if I tell them I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. You know, if they tell me we want to do something on the show that's stupid, the first thing I say when they ask me the question is, I think this is stupid, but here's my answer.
So they know.
Right? Yeah. And like everybody knows, but because I've done it so much, they know that's the way to get RC to actually answer the question that I want him to answer. He's just going to tell the world how he feels about it, and they're okay with that because that's how I am every day.
Right. Now you said, tell him I won't do that. Tell him I stop. Because some people look and they say, yeah, whatever. They cutting you a check or they're producing you. They want you to be on. They going, How do you go against your boss per se in that scenario and just be like, nah, I ain't gonna do it?
Well, I bumped heads with taping MAFS. I bumped heads with a lot of people. Yeah. Just because I think New Orleans culture. The first question you asked, I'm really outspoken. Yeah. And I kind of come off maybe a little boisterous at times too. So I think like having that background alone, I wasn't budging on a lot of different things. And I think like having that mindset and going into it, my producer, I still talk to her to this day. She's cool. She's like a TV mom, essentially. But we also bumped heads. She like the TV, like reality TV, they like to work in hypotheticals. Oh. I'm not a hypothetical person. I'm really linear. Yeah. It's either yes or no. I don't really like gray area. Yeah. Gray area, it doesn't really work well for me. They like gray area. Okay. They capitalize off of gray area, right? They want you to have those escalated moments. They want you to be upset. They capitalize off of those things. Now, I'm not going to give you the space to even for you to have that, because that's just not something that I'm going to be a part of. And if you can't understand it, then I'm on to the next thing. Right. And I think me being in that space to be like, bro, I'm just not doing it. It is what it is. And I think they really wanted to show that. Like, it's okay for this person to be like, bro, I just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Now, some things, just being honest, you have to do. And it's just a matter of just like figuring out like your way of doing it. And all things that I didn't want to do, I figured out my way of doing it.
Right.
And they took it and they ran with it. And they just capitalized off of it all. Hence to why my homeboy was also picked for the show.
Yeah.
They was like, bro, man, dude, we just gonna ride with dude. Whatever it is we going with that. So it's just a matter of like really just being that way all the time. Like I think if you know you for a fact you're not gonna want it and you're gonna stand on it. Be consistent. Yeah. Yeah, be consistent. Because I just think like if you don't want to do something, it shows. Yeah. It's hard to fake it. Right. Like especially when you like a real person that people really understand you. They like, that's fake. I can tell that was really rehearsed, or that's a line he had to read or whatever it may be. Right. But if you also can like decipher through the bullshit, yeah, you'll be okay.
Now you bring up a great point about consistency, right? Mm-hmm. Going to your time in the league, obviously now too, practice makes perfect. And how important was it for you to maintain consistency, whether that's in consistency of schedule, consistency of your meals, consistency of how you woke up, the mindset? How important is that?
Two different things when you talk about how I lived in football and how I live now. Two different things. Man, there were off seasons when I played football, man, that the only condiment I ate all year was mustard. Okay. There was a time, because I was on a very low carb diet, my wife and I were driving from Virginia to Pittsburgh, and I really wanted a hamburger. So we stopped, we get a junior bacon cheeseburger, I chewed it and I spit it in the back. That was different for me. Yeah. Like I talk about it all the time. Like there was only one thing that, other than my kids, right? There's only been one thing I ever saw for the first time and loved it, and that was a football. And so that was different to me. It was a different level of commitment to that to me, because I looked at it as I don't want to do anything else. Mm-hmm. And from the time I started playing it, I never thought about being in the NFL. I just thought that, you know what, tomorrow I'd really like another opportunity to do this. Yeah. And the other thing I wanted to do was whatever God gave me to do what I was blessed to do for 13 years in the NFL, I didn't want to waste an ounce of it. I wanted to be able to retire and never miss football. I've never watched a football game, covered a football game, studied a football game since I retired, and thought I really want to be out there, or I really miss it. I retired officially, I think it was February of 2015, but I retired in November of 2014 on the sofa in the house with my wife. She was walking by me, I don't know what she was doing. I looked up, I said, I think I'm gonna retire. And she's like, you sure? I said, yeah, I'm gonna retire. Yeah. And she went on living her life, and I kept watching TV. I can't remember what I was watching, but I knew at that point what it took for me to get ready to play a game was no longer worth the reward of what the game brought me. Yeah. I knew not being able to walk until Sunday morning until you get shot in your ankle was no longer a way I was comfortable living. I knew staying up till 3 a.m, studying and getting treatment, 6 days a week was no longer what I was capable of doing. And to me, if I was no longer capable of doing something I had done all my life for the one thing I wanted to do the entire time, then it was time for me to give it up. And now my schedule is a freaking crap show. I'm just being honest with you. I get the balance talk once a week at my house. Yeah. Ryan, you have to find balance. You know what I'm saying? And I already know it's serious when she don't call me babe.
Oh, yeah. When you call you Ryan, your first name basis. First name basis, you know it is.
My name, but you know what I mean? I think it's the difference between having a schedule of something that other people, that's very important to other people. And now I have a schedule of doing things that are very important to me. It's not that football was most important to me, but it was also most important to the people that paid me and all those things. And now, you have to prioritize that time. Yeah. And I'm working on that in the sense of marriage. I'm finna be an empty nester. I'm old as hell. Like my last baby's 17. Yeah. And and we trying to figure out what that life's going to be. And she said all the time, she was like, I understood the football thing. I'm not going to really understand the rest of this. you know. And so that's what life has been for me, man. Being able to create my own stuff, being able to own things like that's what excites me. But also too, it's like accepting that challenge of really, unfortunately, something she let me kind of get out of for 13 years because she understood what I was doing and why I was doing it, and she just supported me, and she did everything else. She always tells everybody, I thought it was a joke at first. She's like, well, Ryan played football, he just did football. And I was like, no, I did all kind of other stuff. Like I brought kids to school and I did that. You know what I'm saying? I was like, that seems like a falsehood.
Yeah.
And, you know, then I really thought about it and I was like, damn. She might be right.
Right.
So now I'm working on the other parts. Yeah.
No, what I hear you saying out of that though is that at that time you understood the value of what it was that you're doing and you enjoyed it. As you transition, you still understand the value of what you're doing currently and you enjoy it, right? Is that the consistency that comes between the two?
You know, like the TV thing, like I can say this, I don't necessarily have a passion for TV.
Okay.
Right? Like my whole life I thought I was gonna coach. Like that's all I've ever wanted to do other than play football, I wanted to coach it. You know, and then you get blessed to have this opportunity to do TV and you're actually kind of good at it and you're like, well, you're gonna pay me that much to talk? Then I'm gonna do it, you know? And so that's what's like the other stuff has been about, creating podcasts and doing different stories and making my own, you know, my own clips or my own segments or doing my own pieces has been about doing things that I love, like doing things that I enjoy. You know, I got an opportunity in the beginning of 2020 just to make a Black Lives Matter piece. And I just did it by myself. I wrote it by myself. I paid for people to produce it. I paid for people to cut it, edit it, because I wanted to do it. And I knew ESPN wasn't gonna let me. But that was fulfilling to me. That was satisfying. And so what I'm learning to do is like some jobs, and it's like anything with men, and I know I'm going along here, but I used to make my son get up on Monday and Tuesday every day in high school and work out at 6 a.m. And my wife would fuss at me. She'd be like, his friends aren't doing that. Why do you make him do that? I said, because he claims that he wants this. Mm-hmm. And I said, there's going to be time in life as a man, we're going to have to do things that we don't want to do. Yeah. As a parent, as a husband. And I was like, and we're going to have to be able to accept that, you know what? This is uncomfortable for the time, but the reality of it is what comes from this is a bigger reward than the sacrifice I'm giving up. And, and that's the things, that's how I look at life. That's how I pay. I try to teach things to people who come behind me. And, hopefully in the end, you can look back and feel like you've affected somebody's life in a positive way because of that.
Yeah. Now, transitioning to you, Woody, as a former athlete as well. And I'm not calling y'all former athletes like y'all old or something.
I'm former.
I am okay with former. I am okay with being former.
As a former athlete, again, the consistency of a schedule then, right? Because you here doing what we need you to do, right? So this is when you wake up, this is when you work out, this is when you eat, and then transitioning into something, a schedule that you're now able to control to an extent, right? How important is maintaining consistency as you go to your goals versus just varying everything without a goal in sight?
Well, I think like what I'm doing right now in form of reality TV is somewhat similar to what I used to be doing in track, right? Track is you're gonna train every day for countless amount of hours to go run seconds, right? Yeah. I'm gonna tape all day for you to go and watch maybe 27 minutes when I've taped maybe 100-something hours that week. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So in the same headspace, I think my life is somewhat similar. And I think track was the foundation for what I'm doing currently right now, just because of like how much we had to do. Right? So how much we had to eating right, sleeping right, being able to just be mentally in the headspace that that I don't know what time I'm finna run today. Yeah. I know what it may be, same difference. I don't know what question you're about to ask me. And I really don't, I know how I think I might respond to it, but I don't really and truly know how I might respond to it. So I think just having that those two balances, I think it's helped out a lot. Just because it's from a consistency basis, it's somewhat similar. It's very different in a way of this is sports, this is just really and truly me. But now this is very different because it's a marriage where it's not just me, it's somebody else attached to me who is literally looking at me as what are you about to say next? Yeah. So it's a matter of realizing hey, this was a start and now we're somewhat finishing right now or starting again, essentially.
Yeah. Now, to a question of changing the game from a different lens, right? Congratulations on the upcoming little one.
Hey, little baby.
Yeah, a little bit. What are you most excited about being a father? Right, there's a stigma, this narrative that black dads are. All right, we all, we in the fraternity of fatherhood. You right there. And what are you most excited about being a father for you and your family?
I think the one thing, because me and my wife actually just recently had this conversation. The one thing I'm really and truly excited about is just experiencing this new person and seeing their personality, see how they respond to things when they get upset, when they're happy, when they get frustrated. I want to be able to be that person and say like, okay, it's okay. Or, hey bro, we could learn from it. Or sis, we could learn from it. Because we don't know what we have in boy or girl. And that's the way we wanted it. Which I think is also another good thing too. You can just pray and just hope for a healthy kid. Right. You know what I mean? So from that space, I'm just really and truly just honored to have the opportunity to share, to actually create somebody that's just somewhat similar to me or have my DNA. Yeah. And I'm also excited to have the experience of like seeing this person also grow up, to see who this person going to be, what they might do, what they might not do, or what they think, or how they not going to think. I'm just excited to have the whole experience itself. So I'm excited for fatherhood, man.
Man, congratulations to you, man. Congratulations to you.
Yeah,
now
man.
You, empty nester. I'm looking forward to that, to be honest. 'Cause my kids right now, they in the stage, I got a 6 and 7-year-old boy that just go like this all day.
Brothers
and then they're
fight,
like
bro.
this,
Brothers
and then
fight.
like this, and then like this. So I'm tired of that.
Brothers
So,
fight,
let
bro.
them be, man.
Brothers fight, bro.
Yeah.
Me and my brother fought every day.
Yeah.
And that's literally like
We
one of my
don't
best
fight
friends.
that often. I mean, we had our battles.
It's like one of my
but
best friends, bro. We fought every day. We fought every day.
See, I got girls. I got 2 girls, man. Girls are different. I think girls change you in a lot of ways. Like my wife, like my son is in the middle, and so that's like everybody's baby. But I have a daughter that's graduated college and lives in San Francisco and works, and she works for me too. I got a son that's playing football in college, and I got a 17-year-old who's way different from both of them. Yeah. They were kind of homebodies for the most part. Then my son became a senior, and he was out living. But my youngest is social, and her and her friends find the places with the best bathrooms so they can take good pictures in, and she's very close to my wife. They got the same face, they act alike. So I basically got 2 of them.
In the same
what I'm
house.
saying? Like at one time, and that's overwhelming some days. But I do think, that parenting is the most fulfilling, also the scariest job you'll ever have. To feel like you are in charge of who a human becomes is, that's a very heavy thing to have to live with. Yeah. And you love them little jokers so much though. Like you just really do, man. Like there is no joy like seeing good things happen for your children. Right? And there's also no hurt like when they're hurting and you can't take it away. Right. And I had babies young. I was 19. When I had my daughter, I was 21 when Jordan was born, and so it's like at that moment, it almost feels like the world's going to end, because you know how it is. Like your parents always tell you, you don't want babies young, and how difficult it is, And then I look to it now, though, man. Like my son calls my wife like 8 times a day, to just talk, though. Yeah. Like my daughter. Text me, she's been away. I was like, well, how you doing? How's everything? She's like, Dad, I'm good. I just miss my best friend. She's talking about me. Like that to me is what it's supposed to be. Your children should feel like they don't have to look for you. Your children should feel like that what happens to them is most important to you in your life. And it's honestly, at least I can't speak for everybody. That's honestly the easy part. You know what I'm saying? Like you love them little jokers before they get here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then when they get here, they absolutely do nothing. And they do nothing for you at all. And you just love them so much. You want to show them all to people. Right. You bathe the little jokers, like you do whatever they want you to do. Yeah. They crying, you can't understand it, and you do what you think they want. Yeah. And you go through the whole thing until they stop because you love them so much. Yeah. Like there is nothing like that. There is nothing like that in the world, man. There's nothing to feel like a person can create or there's no action that they could do to make me stop loving you. Yeah. I may disagree, I may not like it, but no matter what you do, I'm your daddy, and that is never gonna change to me. And I think that's the beauty in it. You know what I'm saying? And if you do it right, because you don't raise your kids to be your friends, right? You raise your kids to be the best humans that you can possibly help them to be. But if you do it well enough, bro, they eventually become your friends. And I think that's the beauty in it, man. That it's a tough job, but at some points it's very rewarding when they can look at you and know that no matter what, you were always there.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I feel the same thing. I feel the pain, I feel the agony, I feel the joy that comes with that. I really appreciate you sharing that about fatherhood. Now, last question for both of you. Okay, this is that sound bite right here. Okay, this is that sound bite right here. I'm gonna start with you, Woody. If you had one message you could tell the world, just one message, whether that's a one word or a phrase, what would your message to the world be to help change the game? What's your message to the world?
I'm glad you went first.
I would say my one message would be comfortable being yourself, and also be comfortable with who you also see in the mirror. I think just being able to be comfortable in your own skin, as well as being comfortable with seeing who you see in the mirror often, is like a hard thing for a lot of people. And I think just having that alone in your mindset that whatever your process is, it may not be great, it may not be the best. I think just having that alone, I think is just like the one phenomenal thing that you need to absolutely think about yourself always. Always think about self.
Yeah.
And how you look at it.
Be comfortable being you. I love it. I love it. What's yours, RC?
I think there's so much. I've messed up so much in life that I can tell you a whole bunch of stuff. I think you have to be okay with giving yourself grace when you aren't everything that you've set out to be all the time. And I also think you have to know that allowing yourself to have grace doesn't mean you get to allow yourself to be complacent. You know, if we wake up and we have certain goals, or if we set certain goals and we don't reach them, but we truly put in the effort to get there, we don't have to not allow ourselves to move forward, right? Or we have to allow ourselves to move forward. And it's not ignore that situation. It's not accept your wrongs in that situation. It's not to say that, you know what, it's okay that I didn't reach those goals. It's to be able to look back on it and say, okay, here's how I need to get better. Here is what I need to do to take the next step to be who I truly want to be. I think we all set these big goals, right? And we focus so much on getting to those goals that there are things we do on the way to those goals that are so important and so monumental, and we never celebrate those. Yeah. You know, because all we keep looking at is like the top, right? The top of the mountain, and we miss the little bitty steps that got us there. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And the time that the ice gets slippery and we fall down a little bit, but we climb back up, that's an accomplishment. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like that is your decision that because I slipped, I won't quit. And I think, you know, for us, we feel like we have to carry so much and we have to do so much that every day has to be a win. And that's just not true. Like that's just not real life. The greatest in the world have losses and setbacks. But what makes them great is like they never quit. And they never allowed those setbacks to define them, and they also never settled them like they were okay. And so I think the world is unlike my dog. I do think the world is full of gray. He's more like my wife. She don't think the world got no gray. I'm talking about that joke is black and it's white, and Ryan is right and it's wrong. Yeah. And I think I'm a little bit different in that, which makes me good to deal with sometimes, bad to deal with sometimes. It's just that, man, we're so hard on ourselves. And I think sometimes we have to allow ourselves to grow. And in growing means it's ever evolving, that we'll continue to do it until the day that we die. And so it doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect, but it means that you have to understand what you want to be and continue to work to be that.
Yeah. You heard it. Give yourself grace. Celebrate those small victories, because every day you're better and better, and you here. The fact that you're still here, you still got more time to shine.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. Guys, this has been another wonderful episode of Dapper Conversations. Thank you, RC.
Yep.
Thank you, Woody.
No problem, buddy.
Can y'all do one thing for me, though?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Can y'all say baby?
So here's the thing. I don't even have it.
Oh, you don't have it?
No, man.
Man.
I get teased when I come home. People ask me where I'm from.
Oh,
It's bad, man. It's bad,
Man,
bro.
I can't shake it, bro.
Yeah, man. It's like I never even ate spicy Popeyes from here.
Man,
That's how they treat me.
that's how they treat you. Yeah.
That's cold, man. That's cold.
All right, y'all, we out.